Welcome into the Diamond Vols Podcast on GoVols247.com. I am Ben McKee, and I am joined by former Tennessee pitcher Will Heflin after Tennessee baseball sweeps Mississippi State over the weekend in Starkville. Mississippi State, the number 9 team in the country, and you would have thought Tennessee was the number 9 team in the country if you watched the two teams play at Duty Noble Field over the weekend, because Tennessee was flat out dominant over the weekend. By far their best weekend of the season, Mr. Heflin. We started from the bottom, and now we're here. Much better than the podcast we were recording this time a week ago.
Yeah. Things can change quickly in this sweet, sweet, beautiful game of baseball. And boy, did they change in a hurry. I still don't... That's not the weekend where I thought, oh, okay, it will just turn it on its head and play all phases except base running, I guess. But what's new there?
And the weird part about the base running thing is the base running has been pretty good all year long. Yeah, they finally get maybe it took them doing some dumb things on the bases to get back in the win column.
I guess so. At the dude, I know we caught Mississippi State at the perfect time. We can admit that. It doesn't take away from what Tennessee did as far as trajectory of their season, standings, RPI, postseason positioning, morale of the team, confidence, belief, growth, all those warm and fuzzies, Ben. Great weekend. This team more than needed it, and you kind of feel like they deserved it a little bit. I mean, we always feel like that when we have our orange colored glasses on, right? But I think even outsiders would tell you what this team had endured the last couple of weeks was just excruciating and gruesome. So really, really nice to have a few go our way like they did this weekend. So it's only one weekend, but I don't know if you can overstate how big that was for the team.
No, I totally agree. We mentioned it on one of our previous podcasts, but D1 Baseball did their midseason projections for the tournament. I believe that was before the LSU series, and they had Tennessee projected as the last team in the field. I don't believe they did an updated postseason projection last week after the LSU series, but I would imagine if Tennessee was the last team projected in the field going into the LSU series, they lose 2 of 3 to LSU, I would imagine Tennessee got bumped from the projected bracket if they were to have done a revised mock going into the Mississippi State weekend. So I said it multiple times over the weekend in my writing and things I posted on our board at GoVols247.com, and I absolutely believe it. Yes, there's a lot of baseball left to be played. My expectation for them, and of course this is from the outside looking in, their expectations should be totally different. But based off of how things had gone to this point, I was like, okay, just find a way not to get swept. I would have considered that a good weekend, and I don't think that's me being too negative or too optimistic in that standpoint, or participation trophy-ish, whatever phrase you want to throw out at me. Just kind of where both teams were at, even though obviously Mississippi State had just got swept by Georgia. But what I'm getting to is I absolutely agree with what you said or were alluding to, that Tennessee got its season back on track. And yes, there was a lot of baseball left to be played, but kind of saved its season in a sense. But I think probably the best way to put it is just got their season back on track, because I assume going into the weekend, they were projected not to make the NCAA tournament. And then you go sweep a top 10 team on the road, and not only on the road, but in the best environment in college baseball outside of Omaha. You absolutely in college baseball, that is outside of Omaha. You absolutely got your season back on track. Just a massive weekend for Tennessee, and I don't think you can overstate how important that was for this year's team, but also for Josh Elander. Not that he cares or is paying attention, but for Josh Elander to get some of the monkeys off his back.
I agree. And look, we weren't. It's no participant. We're just doing the math, right? We're like, okay, you don't get swept, so that puts you at 5-10, right? And then you've got X number of home series in front of you. You win that, you take care of those home series and don't get swept on the road. You make a regional. That was where we were at going into the weekend, and that was just reality. That wasn't anybody being positive or negative one way or the other. Like saying if you can avoid a sweep on the road, especially at a place like that, and you're on track, that's fair, right? You always want to go win a series, but you've got to be real with yourself. So I was in the same boat there. And then it's funny you say that about Elander because he's been pushing buttons for several weeks. And this weekend, they were pushed and they came through, right? They worked. He moved Grinlinger up to the 4-hole. He got a bunch of hits. He plugs Jay Abernathy back in, and he does nothing but contribute in 8 different ways this weekend. He goes Cam Appenzeller in a tie game on Friday night. You don't win that game on Friday and you burn Appenzeller for 70 pitches, you're in real deep doo-doo. You are in a tie game.
You and I were texting about it as it was playing out,
and we agreed with it. Everybody did.
Yeah. It was the right move. No doubt.
I will always tell you, regardless of the outcome, whether I agreed or disagreed. I agreed in the moment on this one. And
we talked about it on the podcast last week after the LSU debacle that you should probably go to, not that we don't have trust in Arvidsson anymore, but as soccer fans like to say, they talk about players being in form going into a match. Appenzeller right now is in better form than Arvidsson going into the weekend.
Yeah, that's more about Appenzeller than it is Arvidsson. Appenzeller's more in form than anybody. I mean, not just on Tennessee's team. So that was a bold play, but it made sense. I think a lot of people would have done the same thing, but it still takes some stones. Because the nice part about Appenzeller on Saturday is like if you lose Friday, it's like, okay, you've got Appenzeller on Saturday. You feel really good about evening the series. If you win Friday, you feel really good about using him Saturday to go for the series win, right? You move him up to Friday. That's kind of pushing your chips in on the table. And it worked out this weekend. And I think that also gives you the opportunity to use him twice in a weekend. They didn't this weekend because he had to finish the thing. But let's say you're able to extend and maybe get him out of there in a different circumstance. It just makes a lot of sense. So that was one of the coaching moves that was different that really, really paid off.
Well, and another one that didn't necessarily paid off. I'm more so just mentioning this to back up. And not back up, not because you don't need me to back you up, but because what you're saying is true, but just to give you more evidence, going to Chandler Day as well in a lefty-lefty. Well, I thought it was going to be a lefty-lefty matchup, but then he stuck him in there for one more batter than I thought against the righty. You're seeing that they're searching for that lefty specialist. Mark Indy has kind of been passed up. I think they're starting Blaine Brown against UNC Asheville on Tuesday in hopes that they can maybe find a lefty that they can use on the weekend. We can get into that conversation at later on in this pod or on our preview podcast for
find a lefty. Then 3 of your 5 are lefty.
Yep, but you don't have who's your. I know what you know what I mean. So don't pick.
You know
me,
that
okay?
I know that you know.
They're trying to find their Kirby Cannell, their early career Xander Seacrest, their Redmond Walsh. I would say Will Heflin, but you were mostly a starter. You started. I know statistically speaking, you started over 50% of your career. Would you have started over 75%?
No,
I don't ever really remember you coming in out of the bullpen.
First few years, I did a couple openers, but I was more of a bullpen guy. And actually, the best stint in my career, I was closer in the Cape. But after that,
I remember you starting more than coming in out of the bullpen. Maybe that's because
the last year I was a starter. So
yeah. That's probably why I think that. But they're looking for that lefty specialist. You leave me alone. And they tried Chandler Day, and I think they're still searching.
That.
I do too. I think they're still searching a little bit. Nothing against Chandler Day. I think I think he'll continue to get opportunities, but it hasn't been. You can see the potential there, but it's still not super crisp. It's not exactly in form. To go back to that phrase, so I think that might be why we're seeing Blaine Brown start on Tuesday. But we can get into that conversation at a later time. But yeah, all the buttons were pushed.
There, though.
Manny did pick him up,
and Ariel on the back end.
Ariel with a nice stretch. Yeah,
that was Chandler Day's batter.
Yeah. There were some hard hit balls there against Chandler Day. And who was the other pitcher that came in there in the midst of all that?
Brady Frederick. They got to get him in form, man.
He looked better this weekend, coming in with the strikeout to get Blanco out of the jam there, and was at the 7th inning. But then he did give up a couple of hard hit balls and hit a batter there.
Well, he hit a batter and then he got You'd like him to be able to bridge that a little cleaner to Rudy and not have to stretch Rudy for more than 3 outs if possible.
For sure.
Which, by the way, speaking of form, that was the best version of Rudy, just heaving it. I think we saw a 97 from him. Like just grab that thing and let it rip, Rudy. Fastball is his slider. After the first few, it got better.
It's more effective now than at the beginning of the season, is my thought.
Yeah. The couple floaters that could have been destroyed, but they weren't, and then he locked it in. So that's part of the deal. Look, we'll take it. But yeah,
we've all been
there. He got more in form, and that's what it's going to be for everybody on a Sunday. That's not a Tennessee thing. Like, everybody's trying to figure out what they're going to do to finish a Sunday. That's why on Sunday, the thing ain't over until the umpires leave the field, ever. So Tennessee's been on the wrong end of it. They can be on the right end of it as well, and also hold the lead like they did this Sunday.
You just can't overstate how important of a weekend this was. Josh Elander, Chuck Girolamo, Ross Kivett, everybody involved pressed all the right buttons. It was really a dominant, well-rounded performance. We talk about complimentary football. We've talked about complimentary baseball as well. This team played complimentary baseball throughout the weekend. There's still some things they can clean up for sure, but that's a really good Mississippi State pitching staff, especially at the top end. Their Friday night guy who transferred in from Virginia, I'm blanking on his name.
Valencius.
Yes, he's an absolute dude. I was texting with Chris Berkey on Thursday, and I was like, "What you got on Mississippi State?" And that was the first thing he said. He said, "Tomas is an absolute dude," and he looked good against Tennessee.
He might be the best arm in the whole league. I mean, that's 98 from the left side. That's not even his best pitch. That slider is a redheaded stepchild, and you could tell Tennessee's plan early was like, "Hey, get the fastball if it's there," because the slider's disgusting. But his old Baylor and UVA buddy got him.
Yeah, and Henry Ford. That was good
Baylor
to see on Friday night.
I mean, for those that aren't familiar.
Yes. None are Tennessee natives. Neither are Tennessee natives, but went to Baylor High School in Chattanooga. But just a really well-rounded performance over the course of the weekend. Before we dive into more of the intricacies and whatnot, just to wrap up kind of our big picture thoughts, I thought obviously the head coach summed it up perfectly there after Game 3. He mentioned that the theme has been the door swings both ways, and just be ready for this thing to turn. And again, we have a long, long way to go, but this is a massive weekend for our club. I completely agree. And I liked his comment of how it is a massive turning point in the moment. Of course, now they're going to you have to win these next 2 series to build off of what you did this weekend. That's another conversation we can get into later on our next podcast going into Ole Miss. They're going to have to prove that this weekend was not a fluke. But right now on a Monday, it very much feels like a massive turning point. And as Josh Elander said, and I like this quote as well, it needs to be a mojo change for our guys and know wherever we go play in this league, we got a chance to be in the game. So Tennessee, as Josh is pointing out, should have a lot of confidence coming from this series moving forward, and should play with it. Should play like it. They should pitch with more convictions. They should have at bats with more conviction. They should have more confidence when they're in the field, when they're on the bases, so on and so forth. That this weekend was who they are, not the inconsistencies that we saw prior to this weekend.
Yeah, that was well put by him, and then I like your comments as well. But I was thinking on Sunday, it was funny. I read the YouTube comments. Probably not the best thing I should do during the live call-in show with our boy Basilio, but um, it's like the same people who were wanting to fire Elander last week and the week prior. They're the ones tooting the horn of like how they see, the young team coming together, and now all of a sudden hosting's on the table, and they could see signs of this team having what they need to win at all with the starting pitching. It's just funny, like, but that illustrates, and look, I get it. That's part of being a fan. Wear your heart on your sleeve. We're Tennessee. That is what it is. That comes with territory. That's what makes our fans great. Is we crazy. But the funny part is they're actually kind of mirroring this young baseball team, Ben. And one of the beautiful things about a young baseball team is that they're ignorant. They don't know. They don't know. So when things like this happen, it helps them so much more than like a really old chiseled veteran team that knows. Like this team can absolutely, I'm not saying they will, but they can absolutely build on this to like get super hot very, very quickly. Whereas, an older team is much more like they just have been through it, right? And so we saw the lows, but to that same point, those young guys, they get a taste of what it feels like, and they don't know any better, and they can just roll with that. And so that's a real positive. And Elander was dead on when he was talking about the door swings both ways. You got to give him, if nothing else, Ben. Let's say they lose the next 4 series. If nothing else, for them to go through what they went through the last game against Georgia, and then you had the Missouri series sprinkled in, and then go through what you went through in Nashville, and then the heartbreak at home against LSU, for them to get up off the mat and win the way they did in Starkville this weekend by completely dominating from start to finish, and the most stressful moments of the weekend, there were very few of them, but they were handled. What does that tell you about Elander? Not just with this team, but long term. It's like that is so impressive, regardless of how the rest of the season plays out. I think people really need to soak that in. It's like it would have been real easy to go down there and get dog walked and be, still talking about how this team's just not playing complimentary baseball. They're close. They just don't know how to win, yada, yada, yada. But one thing that I tried to make a point about in preseason is one thing that I predicted about Josh is that his teams will always play their best baseball late because of how steady he is, right? It's not late yet, and they're still not playing perfect. But what do we see this weekend, Ben? We saw guys going the other way. We saw 2 walks the entire weekend and 1 hit batter when we've kind of struggled with the free passes and the bad moments. We saw manufacturing runs. Like this team, we saw, what was it, safety squeeze, the inning where we kind of capitalized on their mistakes. We were putting the ball in play. We were doing things in different ways, and we were hitting homers too. But like Reese Chapman was the epitome of the weekend, just lacing backside doubles. Manny Marin had 7 hits this weekend. I think 6 of them were the other way, and the other one was right smack up the middle. Those are the type of adjustments that you're seeing, that it's like, okay, this dude really knows how to kind of build to a crescendo. And Tony had a couple teams do that, but last year wasn't one of them. And so if Elander is able to kind of turn this year into you're playing your best baseball late, then I think that's a really good sign of him kind of taking everything that was packaged in with his 8 years here as associate and assistant, and it's like now he's putting his own flavor on it. So again, look at me making way too much of the weekend, but that's what we're here for, and that's where my head's at. So you get to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, man, and I know that we tend to be more optimistic maybe at times than we should be, but both of us, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to speak for you, of course, but I know you agree with me. We think Josh Elander is a good baseball coach. We think that he is going to be
Oh,
a
we
really
know
good
he's a
head
good baseball
coach.
coach.
Yes. Well, when I say that, we think that he's going to be a good head coach as well. And last week we went through the decisions throughout the LSU series and kind of dissected this, dissected that, and we talked about, hey, we're not trying to make excuses for the guy, but like he's not he's not dumb. He's smart. He knows what he is doing, and he's kind of been snake bitten a little bit by whatever move he makes has not worked out. And on the other side, and we kind of touched on this momentarily last week, is like guys got to execute, right? I mean, how different does this weekend look when Brandon Arvidsson pitches to Brandon Arvidsson's potential? How much different does this team look like when Tegan Kuhns pitches to Tegan Kuhns' potential, and Landon Mack and Evan Blanco, and the defense makes the plays that, I mean, quietly Tennessee's had a really strong defensive season. I don't know that we talked about that
Very.
enough because of the bullpen issues, because of the lack of situational hitting. Like Josh Elander is going to be a good head coach. How good? Is he going to win a national championship? I don't know. I think he has the makeup to, for sure, but it's just so young. We don't really know the answer to that. But at bare minimum, he's a good head coach. And I think will prove to be, as he continues to learn, as this particular team continues to mature, so on and so forth. So it's not, I mean, I feel like we're doing a pretty good job, not to toot our own horn, but of like keeping things in perspective and not trying to overreact to this weekend, but just kind of, it's almost like we're coming back down to earth of like, this is what we expected. This is what we thought would happen in year one. Not necessarily go sweep Mississippi State on the road, because that's a really tough thing to do in that environment. That team's been good this year. Like you said, Tennessee played them at the perfect time. But to have more of those type of results, not necessarily the sweeps, but the winning weekends against good opponents and not beating yourself and playing good complementary baseball, that's what we expected from this team. And I in hindsight, I don't know that the bullpen construction over the offseason was necessarily the best path forward. That's a separate conversation, but also like the offense was younger than we anticipated. It's more my point is like it's more those reasons as to why we have seen the inconsistencies up to this point than Josh Elander being a bad coach, not ready for the job. It's the comments on social media of he doesn't show enough fire, he doesn't care enough, and he doesn't know what he's doing, he doesn't know how to manage a bullpen. Well, the guy's executing now. It looks like he doesn't know how to manage a bullpen. Like it swings both ways. So
Yeah.
I don't think we're making excuses for him or being too overreactionary. I think this is just more of what we expected, because we know that Josh Elander is capable of doing a really good job as a head coach.
Yeah, and it's nice when your offense scores early
And
in
late.
all 3 games, right? And you get insurance runs, right? It's a little easier to manage the game when your players are in form. I guess that's the phrase of the day. But yeah, you're spot on with those comments. I just think that um we knew it was going to be up and down. If you would have told me 7-8 through halfway, looking at the schedule, okay, Georgia, Missouri, Vanderbilt, LSU, and Mississippi State, Georgia, Vandy, Mississippi State on the road, I'd have been like 7-8. That's fine. If you would have told me to tell you how we got here, it would not look anything like what it looks like. The swept in Nashville, sweep in Starkville. Okay, 1-2 in Georgia. I probably would have said that. And then, you know, The LSU series probably should have went your way, but preseason with what LSU had coming into the season, I would
Not a
have said,
surprise.
okay, we could lose that series, right? But I probably would have said, at worst, you go 1-2 in Nashville, and so to get to 7-8, now you're 2-1 in Starkville. You stole one, but for there to be a sweep both ways on the road, that's wild. But that's the world. Look at the SEC this weekend. I mean, Arkansas, who's been struggling, went and swept at Bama. Georgia, who's still number one in the league, got swept or lost the series at home to Florida. Somebody else got swept. LSU got beat by Ole Miss, but there was somebody else at home that got swept. And
Did you say, not at home? Did you mention the Longhorns getting swept in 2 games?
well, yeah, I kept tuning back in last night, like every other hour. Then they just kept moving the time back, and then finally messed it up. Don't get me on my rant today, Ben, because that game should be playing right now.
Go
I don't.
ahead. Let's hear the rant. I want to hear the rant. Let's go.
Is there not enough money involved? And is it not important enough to play a game 3 between in-state rivals on a Monday? Is class really that important for these athlete students? I mean, with all due respect, you're talking to a 4.0 GPA. I was on more academic money than baseball money. I'm a believer in school, but look, A&M and Texas, you can't push that game to a Monday because of an SEC rule, I guess? Arizona State and Arizona are playing today. It's like a non-conference game. You mean to tell me Arizona and Arizona State can play a funsies non-conference game on a Monday? A&M and Texas can't finish a series between bitter rivals that has literal bearing on the postseason, SEC standings, etc. You can't finish that on a Monday because of rain? Give me a break, Ben. It just means more. How about we act like it, buddy?
I'm
Now
with
I've
you.
lost my whole train of thought.
Well, that's all good. We were transitioning anyways. The
We
point being that I guess we kind of got on a soapbox of defending Josh Elander. Not that that was the intention of this podcast, but just that you know, whether people think we're being too positive or defending him too much, that's certainly not the intent. We don't necessarily have an agenda to defend Josh Elander. I feel like we do a good job of calling balls and strikes and being respectful about doing so. We just never thought that Josh Elander was the moron that people made him out to be on social media, and
I
he took a lot of bullets the last several weeks, and he certainly, at least for one weekend, again, like we said earlier, they as a team are going to have to prove that this was not a fluke and play some consistent baseball. But I guess circling back to our earlier point, I just don't think that you can overstate the importance of obviously this individual team getting back on track when looking ahead to the postseason. But Josh Elander, in the meantime, shutting up some doubters.
Yeah. You just look, he's going to be an elite head coach. The way he recruits and his demeanor, it's impossible for him not to be successful. Um, it just needs to happen here, okay? And I'm not ever in the camp, especially in today's day and age. I'm not ever in the camp of saying, "Oh yeah, just give a guy 4 or 5 years." That's not what I'm saying. I know he had a talented roster. I like where this team's at for this year, but with what he's got coming in, with who we know, with who he is that we know as a person, that came out wrong, but you know what I mean. Whether it's here or somewhere else, he's going to be really successful, and odds are he will make a run. You can never say, like, I think someone will win a natty because there's a lot of luck involved in that.
Look at Dave Van Horn.
But
Look at Rick Barnes.
he will put himself in position.
Yeah.
So it might as well be here, and it could be this year, could be next, could be a couple of years down the line, but they'll be in position to. It'll be a fun program to follow and root for. And he's as what do you call it? Upstanding as a human being as it gets. And I know we've appreciated that out of Rick Barnes. and not every school has that luxury with one head coach, much less two or three. Like I'd put Heupel in that category as well. So we've dealt with enough drama in Tennessee athletics the last decade. There won't be any drama when Elander's at the helm.
No, I would be absolutely stunned if that were the case. There was a lot of positives in terms of actual baseball. Of course, we've been talking baseball, but we've been big picture. Let's dive into the storylines within the storyline on the other side of this quick timeout here on the Diamond Vols Podcast on GoVols247.com. Welcome back into the Diamond Vols Podcast on GoVols247.com, where as we are returning for our second segment, Tennessee softball just swept Kentucky on the road. So a very good weekend for the Vols on the diamond this weekend. Carlin Pickens threw a no-hitter, I believe was that Saturday in game one?
Yep.
Basketball transfer portal, baseball season. I am in absolute I don't know where I'm at, honestly. Like I'm just I don't know.
Softball can play on a Monday, huh?
Yes, softball can play.
Here we go again.
Well, the softball and women's basketball play on a Monday, so I don't know why. Now they do it for TV purposes. It's one a week, and the women's basketball game is on the SEC network every Monday. Sometimes on ESPN or ESPN2, depending on usually if it's LSU or South Carolina. The Lady Vols have been on there a couple times. But softball also on the SEC network, so they do it for TV purposes. But I totally agree with you. I hate the Sunday rules. Do I think there should be curfew rules and starting games at certain times? I do, but if we're going to have those rules, let's at least also allow what you're saying, teams to play on Monday. Like
you don't
Texas,
need those rules if you can play on Monday, because
yes,
you know what I mean. At what 7 or 8 last night, they would have just said, "Okay, we're just going to play Monday."
Yeah,
You're not going to hang around for a play at noon.
Yeah, I don't care if it's at 11 a.m. I don't care. Just play the game. Texas and Texas A&M, I totally agree with you. They should play 3 full games unless it's just an absolute disaster of a weather weekend. Like it would have to be an absolute disaster for you to not get all 3 games in my opinion. And that, like Texas A&M, that's obviously the extreme because of how awesome of a rivalry that is. But I don't care if it's Tennessee, Missouri, or Texas A&M and South Carolina. You pick the 2 teams that have the least history between one another. Even they should be making sure that they get 3 games in.
It screws everything up when you got teams with 29 games. It just really irks me.
Yeah, I agree.
Clearly.
At least I guess the only thing is better than in sports is a tie. There's nothing worse in sports than a tie.
Yeah.
That'd be the worst. But I digress. Congrats to the softball team on their sweep. Good weekend for both Diamond programs this weekend, looking more like themselves. The Lady Vols had hit a skid there for a moment, but back on track this weekend, and looks like Tennessee baseball also got back on track. Do you want to talk offense or you want to talk pitching first on this second segment? I guess I'll ask it this way, and you can lead us into the second half of the segment. I liked what Josh Elander said on, I think it was after game 2 on Saturday night, that the difference in the first 2 games, the biggest help to the bullpen was that the offense was able to provide some insurance runs. The situational hitting was absolutely phenomenal this weekend. Obviously, those of you who listen to this podcast know I've been pretty hard on the offense in that regard this season, rightfully so, because some of those numbers have been abysmal at times this season. But for the weekend, if my math is correct, and I added this up while we are recording on the podcast, so if my math is correct, they hit 415 with runners on base, pretty good, 357 with runners in scoring position, and 342 with 2 outs this weekend. They were pretty dang good in terms of situational hitting, provided multiple insurance runs each and every game. Didn't necessarily have the big inning per se, but 1 run here, 1 run there, 2 runs in this inning. I think they had a 3 spot in the top of the 9th on Sunday. Just the situational hitting was phenomenal. So what was your biggest takeaway from the weekend? Was it the offense taking the step forward that it seems they took, or was it the bullpen and what you saw over the course of the weekend, only having to use 4 arms on Friday and Saturday total because of what Appenzeller and Arvidsson were able to do, and then you throw in what Rudy did on Sunday? Just a really good weekend for the bullpen. Was it the starting pitching? What was your biggest takeaway from the weekend?
Bigger takeaway was more the offense. And look, Appenzeller, Arvidsson were great. But the reason we only had to use those 2 guys is because Coons and Mack gave them length, and Blanco gave them length on Sunday. When the starters give you length, then you don't have to get as deep, right? You don't have to get as deep, and they were able to get clean innings, and it was just how you draw it up, right? And you can't expect to get, what was it, 6 from Coons, 5 and some change from Mack, or they've only been 4 and some change for Mac, but it was still competitive. And then Blanco, again, what was it? I mean, they played the Sunday game in like 2.5 hours because of Blanco. I mean, literally.
Which is a miracle. Blanco went 6.2 pitches.
He wanted to watch
into
the final
7th.
round of the Masters, kind of
Yes.
like how he wanted to watch Tennessee in the second round of March Madness against his former school, UVA. Both times he's had something to get to on the TV. He has been quite the efficient man. So I think that was complimentary on the pitching side, like the starters helping out the bullpen, knowing like, hey, you guys are, kind of struggling. We're going to go deep. We're going to use our 2 horses Friday and Saturday. And then Sunday, they were able to kind of tag team it with the guys we talked about in the first segment. My biggest takeaway was the offense. It was the opposite field hitting. It was the under control swings. It was the aggressiveness early in the count. It was the offense did not go away completely from the 7th inning on, right? When you score even 1 run in the 8th or the 9th is so big for momentum, for, just freeing up the pitcher a little bit, not going out there thinking, oh gosh, a solo home run, now we're tied. Like, attack the zone, 1 solo, whatever, right? I mean, Appenzeller finally gave up a run, but we had some insurance. So guess what? Right back to work on the mound. So that was my biggest takeaway from the offense. I just thought they were phenomenal in terms of their approach. And look, I'm all for the Levi swing and the Reese home run and the Henry home run. Like, those are what this program was kind of built on offensively. And you got to have those to compete in this league. And they got those. But those opposite field swings, they dial you in, right? And for guys like Manny, Reese for sure, Blaine Brown stung one at shortstop. I think it was like 110, the one Blaine hit to shortstop in game 3. Like, those are the swings, and I know I've went on and on about those, but truly, look at the results. They had a really good, consistent offensive weekend, and when they were getting pitches away, especially with 2 strikes, especially with 2 outs, like, there's times to pick and choose. Like, okay, I'm gonna elevate and cut it loose. I'm gonna get on base. I'm gonna hit a laser to the right side. This pitcher's good. He's not gonna make a mistake in this count. Yada yada. I'm just gonna take whatever I can get. And when you hit line drives the other way, sometimes they go down the line, or sometimes they go to right center. And guess what? You have a double, and you're in really good position. And then Garrett Wright was phenomenal in the leadoff spot, by the way. Real tone setter this weekend. So those were my 18 biggest takeaways.
Yeah, and not to sound like what is it? What's the
Broken
bird?
record.
Broken record. What's the bird
Beat a
that?
dead horse.
What's the bird that mimic? A parrot?
Oh, parrot. Yeah.
Yeah, not to be a parrot, but I totally agree. What we talked about what Tennessee's approach on the podcast after the LSU series, and you've mentioned a couple times this year about how you're just not seeing them go the other way as much as you would like, or using the whole field. I asked Elander about it after the midweek game last Tuesday, and I don't know that he liked me asking about it too much, which I understand. but I did think it was a question that needed to be asked. He's maintained that the offensive issues haven't been, just holistically speaking. Of course, you're going to have guys that struggle with approaches more than others. You're going to have hitters that have good approaches, have an at bat where they don't look like they have an approach, right? But holistically speaking, he has thought the offensive issues have been more about guys trying to do too much in certain moments rather than an approach being poor, or a guy not willing to go the other way, or the coaching not leading to seeing guys go the other way, things of that nature. And I do agree with him. Like it's not only poor approaches or an unwillingness to go the other way. I'm sure it is young guys in a draft year. They've got a lot of expectations, a lot of pressure on them to be this guy, to be the starting shortstop, to be the starting catcher. He came in as a top 30 overall prospect. Like there's a lot of pressure on these guys. So I do think that some of it is certainly, or there's at least a portion of the pie that is guys trying to do too much. But I would disagree from the outside looking in. And of course, like Josh isn't going to throw his guys under the bus. Like I do think, just generally speaking, there has been a poor approach this season. You have not seen the same approach in the box that you saw, what we've come to know under Josh Elander and Tony Vitello. It's been more swing and miss. It's been more chase. Maybe that's a byproduct of them being young. Maybe it's not. But Josh just gave a kind of a status quo answer, which is perfectly fine, right? Like that's not something that he needs to really dive in to publicly, even if it is something that needs to be asked. But I thought it was interesting, and not that things changed because I asked the question, but you saw the old version of the offense is what I'm getting to. The old version of the Josh Elander, Tony Vitello offense this weekend, in my opinion, to where guys were really battling. They were seeing a lot of pitches. They were fouling pitches off. They were making the pitchers throw a lot of pitches. And they were the on base percentages were high. You saw them go to all fields like you detailed, and it was just, it looked like a different offense this weekend against a really talented Mississippi State lineup, which I think is a good sign of this team starting to settle in. But just I'm being long-winded here, and I apologize for that. But just to be a little more simplistic, something that you and I have talked about all year long, in addition to the situational hitting. Obviously, they had a great weekend because they were better situationally with 2 outs, runners on base, runners in scoring position. But in addition to that, the sophomore class, they looked as good as they have all year long. Manny Marin, Stone Lawless, Jay Abernathy, Blake Grimmer, redshirt sophomore. But like we said earlier in the year, we kind of throw him into that group because he hadn't really played the last 2 years. Like all those guys were terrific throughout the weekend. Manny Marin, 417 at the plate, 5 for 12. Jay Abernathy hit 300. He was 3 for 10. Blake Grimmer actually had a down weekend. I didn't realize he hit 154 for the weekend, but his 2 hits, it seemed, I know one of them, he had an RBI single late that proved to be big. He had a couple of big at bats, even if he didn't necessarily have the results. Levi Clark did hit 250, 3 for 12, but had a home run, but drove in 5 runs. He hit 250, but led the team in RBIs with 5. So we can talk holistic outlook on the offense, approaches, going to all fields, all that. That's important. I thought you saw more of that this weekend, but more importantly for the long-term outlook of this offense, because I think it'll go as far as the sophomore class carries them. It was good to see that what you thought was going to be the foundation and the core this year really have a big weekend. And I think that's why you saw the offense have so much more success.
Yeah, 250 is fine if you're going to get 5 steaks and a homer. Like that's Levi Clark, really good weekend. And look, one weekend, one hit will take you from 250 to 300, or at least like 280, something like that. So, the production is there. That's the point. And like you said, Jay had 3 knocks. He was on base multiple times, even the 2 games where he didn't get a knock. Played an outstanding second base. and tracked a few down in center field. I think he played game 2 in center. And Levi was awesome behind the dish all weekend. I don't know how much stress he was put under with the run game, or I'm trying to think of any like big time blocks that he had to make. But anytime your pitching staff strikes out, 27, walks 2, like you've got a guy behind the dish that's framing it well and making your pitchers feel comfortable. So that's kind of one of those things that he doesn't get credit for the stats, but he definitely gets credit.
I didn't
Uh,
even notice him back there, which is like an offensive tackle. Like you never want to notice the offensive tackle. I didn't notice
yeah,
Levi back there, and of course Garrett Wright in game 2. It's I think we mentioned this earlier in the season, but it's so funny to me that for several years, including when you were playing, Tennessee had the worst luck with finding and establishing catching depth, and now their depth this year is just phenomenal.
and
Uh,
they've needed it because
yes, they
Stone
have
went
because
down.
of Stone.
So
Yep. And one guy, speaking of catcher, that we didn't talk about, Trent Grenlinger is an absolute dude.
he's a
He
hit
is
machine.
he is a hit machine. I think he's more designated hitter right now than
Yeah,
catcher.
that's fine.
He look, he came in as a catcher. He certainly can hold his own back there, but he has a ways to go defensively, I believe. But that's okay because he has settled into one of Tennessee's better hitters, quite frankly. And I imagine this weekend felt really good for him as a former Mississippi State commitment.
He's the use case that I was talking about, young guys being ignorant, because the only thing he knows is that he's supposed to hit 400 in the SEC. It's like, Trent, no, you're not, brother, but we're not going to tell you that, you know? So he got a few knocks his first couple ABs, found a few holes, and now he just hits lasers all over the field. So that's one of those things where being young is such a blessing. It's like uh, he just kind of doesn't know any better, so he's doing what he knows how to do, and that's square up baseballs. And so I'm not trying to make it oversimplified for him. Like his at bats are anything but immature. He is a real pain in the rear to strike out. And if you do strike him out, you got to use like 8 pitches to do it. And when you make a mistake, he's the guy who's just going to hit a laser over second base if that's what you give him. And we know he's got juice in there. There'll be more juice the later into this deal that they get. But right now, look, that level backspin middle swing is working money for Trent, and I know that's what they preach over there. So he is one of the guys that does not try to do too much in any given AB, and that's why he's having success. And I think, maybe it's fair to say that some other guys have fed off of that, because it did seem like as a unit they were not trying to do too much. And when you're not trying to do too much and you're just trying to go backspin middle, you get good results. You hit the ball hard. Really, that's all baseball is. It's like hit the ball hard as many times as possible, and the averages will average out over time, right? Because you can hit it 110 and get out. You can hit it 55 and get on base. But typically over the course of the season, the highest average exit velos will be the highest batting averages, and the most home runs will be the guy who hit the ball the hardest at the best launch angle the most times. Like that's how the game works. And so certainly good to see Trent kind of being a leader, even though he's young, but it's kind of a young team. So who cares? Let him lead.
Yeah, Tennessee's 2 highest ranked signees were Trent Grenlinger and Cameron Appenzeller.
Yeah,
And
recruiting is an inexact science, but whoever scouted those two seemed to know what they were looking for.
well, what I don't understand is people in my Twitter mentions, when they get a player ranked in the top 30, top 50, like Grenlinger and Appenzeller and Levi Clark going back a year, they
Was
tell me in
Teagan
my
top 30?
mentions. Who? Teagan?
Teagan. He was top 100. He may not
Oh
have
yeah,
been
he was
top
definitely
30.
top. I want to say he was top 40. I'll have to double check on that while you are talking. But
Sorry.
my Twitter mentions tell me that Tennessee shouldn't recruit those guys because there's no chance of them getting to campus.
Oh no, you gotta recruit. I mean, They did lose like 3 shortstops in the first 10 picks this year that they had
But
signed.
here's the
But
difference, though.
yeah,
Here they knew, like, there are some guys you absolutely know are not going to make it to campus. Billy
yeah.
Carlson was never going to make it to campus. That was
Brady House.
Brady House. He actually got close. Tony Vitello
No,
tried. He did.
that would have been a rabbit out of the hat.
It would have. He got close. When I say he got close, like for the number 1 overall player in the class, he got close.
Wasn't Steele committed to Tennessee as well?
Yes. But with Brady House, he was very close to doing the Bryce Harper thing, where he graduates high school early, does a year at JUCO, 2 years at Tennessee, same age, on the same trajectory by the time he got to the big leagues, if that makes sense. They were Tony was very close to
close
pull
but
him
no
off.
cigar.
Yes, for sure. But you get Brady House committed, he's not going to make it to campus, generally speaking. You knew Billy Carlson wasn't. Billy Carlson was a middle finger to Vanderbilt because Billy Carlson was committed to Vanderbilt, and he was very tight with the assistant coach that Tim Corbin let go. Tim Corbin, from people outside of Vanderbilt, they don't feel like Tim Corbin was very loyal to that assistant coach that Billy Carlson was really tight with, which is why he committed to Vanderbilt and why he backed off his commitment from Vanderbilt after Tim Corbin let him go or parted ways or whatever. So, it's good for publicity to sneak in and get his commitment. But that was a middle finger to Vanderbilt because you knew he wasn't going to make it to campus. And everybody talks about, oh, look at Tennessee scooping in and getting this guy to flip from Vandy to Tennessee, yada, yada, yada. But you knew he wasn't going to get to campus. I'm forgetting Steele's first name. I'm wanting to say Kevin Steele. Kevin's the football coach.
Evan Steele.
No, it wasn't Evan Steele. Steele Hall?
Steele Hall.
Steele was the first name.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steele Hall.
They went like back-to-back picks.
Yes. Now, I don't know that he was 100% gone.
And then Cruz School.
Cruz, I think, was closer because he was a 2-year guy as well. He was a little bit closer than just the bona fide guarantee. But for the most part, going into their senior years, that they're basically gone. So my point is, you have plenty of time to backfill, and they're committing when they're juniors as well. Like, you already have a pretty good idea. You have plenty of time to backfill your recruiting class to make up for these guys. And now with the portal, you can certainly overcome their departures as well. But it is an inexact science, and it is why you still recruit these guys, because you never know. People were all freaked out about Trent Grenlinger making it to campus.
That's different school, but Dylan Cruz was not supposed to go to LSU.
No,
and
you just never know.
Glad he did.
Yeah, you just never know what's going to happen by the time the draft rolls around. You don't know what this player's asking price is going to be and whether teams are willing to give it to them. Some players, like Manny Ramirez's son, Lucas Ramirez, he was gone. It didn't matter what the offer was. He was gone. Ethan Moore, Tennessee thought he was gone, and he didn't get the number that he was looking for in the draft process, so ends up making it to campus. Cameron Appenzeller, he's probably at Tennessee because he had an arm injury that he had to manage throughout his senior season, and the velo was down on his fastball throughout his senior season. He wasn't really able to pitch in front of scouts, and so that diminished his draft stock just enough to where he was able to make it to campus. You just never know what's Anson Seibert. I know that story didn't end up playing out well for Tennessee. I wonder what he's doing in JUCO right now. I'll look that up as well. But you just never know, and it's why you continue to recruit those guys. And pretty cool that Jared Grenlinger, I don't know if we talked about him on the podcast, but committed a couple of weeks ago. He signs officially on Monday to celebrate Trent's weekend at Mississippi State. And Trent doesn't have the at-bats that he needs to qualify as Tennessee's statistical leader in SEC play. He's only got 28 at-bats, but he's hitting .429. So if you just don't look at the part of it, that is a small sample size. He has been Tennessee's best hitter in SEC play. If you take Trent out of it, Garrett Wright is the team's leading hitter in SEC play at 283. Reese Chapman's at 279. Manny's hitting 262. Grimmer and Levi are both hitting 250. Blaine Brown, 210. Henry, 197. Jay, 139. So I guess since this is an optimistic podcast today, you can look at it and think, man, I'm surprised that Levi's hitting 250. This offense is starting to come together, and that's with Blaine Brown hitting 210 and 197. Now, for two totally different reasons, Henry's hitting 197 in SEC play because he dealt with an illness and lost 20 pounds because of it. Blaine Brown just can't lay off a breaking ball to save his life. Did have a couple of nice at-bats this weekend, but Blaine's going through it as a young player. So optimistic podcast. If you get those two guys going, what is this offense going to look like? And I'll throw it to you with this. To put a bow on our offensive conversation, it feels like Josh Elander has really settled in on a starting 9.
Yeah, that's the nice part is at least for the next few weeks or few games, like I think those 9 guys that played all 3 this weekend will come to the park on Friday knowing where they're going to be in the lineup, where they're going to be in the field. And that's a comforting thing. And when you're trying to get on a roll, that's definitely nice because it's a game of repetition and it's a game that's designed to make you uncomfortable. So if you can do as much as you can to be comfortable, that certainly helps. And hey, look, we are being optimistic. Ford raised his average. It was 189 headed into Mississippi State. So he's almost to 200. Blaine did drop down a little bit further. I think he was like 219 going into last weekend. So he needs a couple knocks to get that back up. But I mean, Levi's hitting higher in SEC play than he is for the whole season. So he'll get closer and closer to where the true Levi Clark is by the end of the deal. And then Jay started the SEC play so bad, you just can't even look at his average for a couple weeks. We'll see. We'll circle back to him in another 3 weeks if he plays every game and see where he's at. But yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of good arms in the SEC. If you've got 5 guys that are in that 260 to 290 range, maybe you've got a couple that are over 300, and your lower end guys can be, productive even if they had a slump and are hitting, lower and start climbing it out of the basement, kind of like Jay's about to do, then you can do that. That's how this team's going to have to win games, Ben. Like 6-5. This weekend was exactly how this version of Tennessee baseball needs to do. Like, and I'm not saying this to be corny. Like, the way this team has just kind of played out, they are better suited for Omaha than they are their own ballpark. And it's like, I mean,
Why do you
truly,
say that?
I know they've got some bangers, but like, you think about the lineup in Garrett Wright, Manny, Jay, Grinlinger, like you're just more and like the way they play defense, the way their starting pitching is, this team is just not, what we're kind of used to. And I think we'll see more homers as it continues to warm up. Like clearly Manny Marin is better in warm weather than he is cold. Clearly.
I wonder why that is.
Let Henry get some weight back on. I mean, I know he hammered one this weekend, but like Henry, Levi, Blaine, Reese, like they're gonna be able to string together 6, 7, 8 homers on a good weekend, right? But I still think that just with the starting pitching, and we saw what they were able to do when they were able to get traffic, kind of move some guys over. Maybe you bunt a little bit, maybe you sack fly, maybe you run a little bit. Like that's kind of how you need to win, especially when you have the starting pitching that they do. The starting pitching is your strength. And so regardless of what your offense is, you need to play to that strength. And I think that's my humble opinion that this team would look really good in Omaha now. But Is it going to be easy to get there? Absolutely not.
A long way to go.
Long, long way to go. Look, let's make a regional first. I was just trying to say, from a construction standpoint, how they need to win baseball games this weekend was exactly the recipe. And if they have to get into a shootout, then you do that when it comes. But I think you go into it knowing that 4-3, 5-3. I mean, 7 runs. If you can score 7 a game, they'll win every series.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with assuming the pitching pitches to the way they've pitched to this point. You're absolutely correct, and there's no reason to think that they won't. Of course, the bullpen will need to continue to pitch the way it did this weekend in order to pay off the starting pitching that you have. But with Jay Abernathy, my last offensive thought is I'm willing to ride him there, even if you aren't getting a great average at the plate with him in there. I'm more than willing to ride with Jay at this point in the 9 hole. Of course, that's under the assumption he doesn't become an automatic out, but just the way he's able to impact the game defensively, both at center field and at second base. He's so good defensively at both positions, and pretty spectacular that he is given the difference in the positions. He caught that line drive on Saturday night in the 8th inning, the one before he almost collided with Blaine, which great jump on that, great speed to track that ball down in the left center gap. But he had a line drive hit not right at him, but towards his throwing shoulder, his right throwing arm. And he just read it well, and his speed allowed him to catch that baseball. Just what he is able to do defensively. And then he's able to kind of get things going with the bunt like we saw this weekend. His speed puts pressure on defenses. So this is assuming he's not just an automatic out up there every game. But I'm willing to ride Jay there for several weeks, just because even if the offensive production isn't quite what you would want it to be because of what he does elsewhere, I'm willing to ride that out because I think he is so dynamic, and quite frankly, nobody else has given you any other reason to throw them in the lineup. I'd rather have Jay in there than Ariel. Chris Newstrom was essentially suspended for the weekend. Like he's got to get out of his own way. He just simply needs to put in the work behind the scenes. It's up to Newstrom if he's going to be a factor on this baseball team or in this program going forward. I expect Josh Elander to address that situation on Tuesday after Tennessee plays UNC Asheville. He did not travel with the team this weekend. For those who did not see, that it was expected to be kind of a one-off. His absence isn't expected to be long-term, but obviously it reached a point to where it was an internal issue, as Tennessee stated publicly, and they didn't travel him. I think that speaks for itself. So he will obviously need to get back on the right track, but Tennessee does not expect it to be a long-term situation in terms of his absence, but it will be a long-term issue for Newstrom individually here or at his next stop if he leaves, if he does not just simply turn things around and adjust how he is going about his business on a day-to-day basis. So Newstrom's not reliable, unfortunately, which I know both of us are bummed about because we really like him when he is on, and he can be a real difference maker for this team. And I still like Tyler Myatt. I just think with what Jay is able to do defensively and on the bases when he does get on base, I think that just kind of outweighs what Tyler's giving you right now. And hey, everybody's clamoring for Tyler Myatt to be the designated pinch hitter off the bench. I don't know that I necessarily agree with that line of thinking. If a guy has a lot of potential, just to pencil him in as the pinch hitter, especially when it's been a small sample size. But you do have that luxury with being able to bring him off the bench.
Yeah, those are kind of the other 2 guys or 3 guys. But I'm with you. Stick with Jay for right now. You can use Myatt off the bench, or if you got somebody who's just a real against righties and you want to DH Myatt, and have Grinlinger on the bench, but I don't know. I'm not bringing Grinlinger out of the lineup right now. So I would just roll with what you had out there for the
Yeah.
sweep. How about that, Ben? I'm not going to overcomplicate it.
Yeah, I agree. I was just trying to give some explanation for my thinking. And again, this
Yeah, my
weekend's
boy
Jay
Nutrition needs
Abernathy.
to handle biz, though. I mean, God, that was my word. I feel like I was on a 2-3 year run where my pick to click preseason was pretty dialed in, Ben, and Newey just not coming through for me, on or off the field. I don't know what he did specifically. I think it was more about what he's not doing,
Yes,
which is
not
putting in that
one.
work. So,
Yes,
um,
not one thing he did. Just
yeah,
there's a reason he hasn't played. He didn't play in the midweek game last week, and he has not
the cycle
started in
against UCLA
SEC.
was cool though.
He had a heck of a performance against UCLA, which is why the situation is so frustrating, because you know what he can be and can do
Yeah,
for this team.
I felt real smart at that point, but
Well,
that's why
hey,
it's
look,
a marathon,
hey,
not a sprint.
hey, let's not go look up how many home runs Blaine Brown has right now, okay?
Yeah, at least he's still in the lineup
I guess.
with
How
his
many?
with his 210.
He does have. My guy Blaine is. He
He's
does
got more
have.
home runs than you and I have. That's for sure.
Yes, he is tied for the team lead in home runs in SEC play. He has 4, as does Henry.
He's
The
got to
problem
be
is
tied for the team lead in other areas too that he doesn't want to be tied for the team lead.
he is. Oh, he does not lead the team in strikeouts in SEC play. That's surprising. He is 3rd. Can you guess who is ahead of him? I think the first one would shock you. The team's leading strikeouter. That's not a word. Just made it up. The team's leading strikeouter in SEC play.
In SEC play. This is probably going to come off. This may be dumb, but maybe you led me this way because you said it would surprise me. What about Manny?
Henry Ford with 23.
Well, that's what I was going to say, was Ford.
So that doesn't surprise you?
No.
I mean, I know he obviously has not had the results, but 23.
I've watched him
I knew
strike
he had,
out a lot.
I knew he had struck out a lot. I didn't think he was leading the team in strikeouts in SEC play.
He also gets pitched differently.
Manny struck out 16 times.
Is
Manny
Ford
is
leading the team in home runs in SEC play though?
He's tied with Blaine with 4.
Yeah. So
Henry and Blaine both have 13 hits in SEC play. 4 of them are home runs for both of them.
Hey, if you're not going to get many, make them count.
Blake Grimmer is 2nd in strikeouts with 20 in SEC play.
And there's your 2, 3, 4 for most of your.
But hey, if we're being
SEC
optimistic, the offense, the bottom of the lineup carried the offense this weekend. Imagine what the offense could be if those guys get going, right?
What did Elander say? Our horses need to run.
Yes, and
they did. Moving Blaine helped him. Moving him down was a smart move.
It feels like his at bats have been better.
Well, I think him in the 6 hole, you can live with a little bit of the high risk, high reward out of his at bats. You know what I mean?
Give us 1 or 2 big swings a weekend.
Yeah, like 6 holes, great for a guy to just go up there and hack. He's going to see more heaters. The Reese was awesome in the 2. I love Reese in the 2, and he's making me look dumb because I was kind of against him going into the year, and I've said
Reese
sorry.
Struggled. I love Reese Chapman. I love Reese, but he struggled pretty bad to end last year. So
I mean, he just looked lost.
That thought wasn't
kind of started that way this year, and I was like, ain't nothing changed. But kudos to him, man. He's letting who he truly is shine through, and he's great in the 2 hole. If he's gonna lace doubles to left center, I'm here for it all day long. I like the lineup, even though it's easy to say with the result. I still just thought it flowed.
Yeah, I agree. It feels like Reese has sacrificed a little bit of power for more contact this year
Yeah,
and seeing
less
more
strikeouts.
precision. Yep. All right,
He
we need
did
to talk.
hammer that one though.
Yeah.
His home run this weekend was a bomb.
No. That is what we call a piss missile.
Well, you can call it whatever you want. All of them apply.
Yes.
Hater, dinger, bomb, piss
It-
missile, laser, seed.
No. I have distinct definitions for my bombs.
We don't have
and
time for
piss
the
missiles.
McKee's baseball dictionary. Actually, we
Well,
do have time, but I don't want to hear it. What's your piss missile definition?
I had to hear your rant earlier, so now you get to hear my rant about definitions of baseball terms. Okay, a piss missile, a bomb cannot a bomb. In order for it to be a bomb, it has to travel at least 400 feet.
No, a bomb has to go over the fence. A piss missile doesn't have to go over the fence. Piss missile could be a line drive.
All home runs are not created equal. Curiel's grand slam that the wind got one fence over the left field wall into the porches was not a bomb.
What about
bombs are?
They hit one in Supers last year that was 84 off the bat.
That's not a bomb or a piss missile. That's getting lucky. I don't remember.
It was Arkansas. It was one of their righties.
What was it? The second baseman. To me, a piss missile, the exit velo has to be pretty high, and more on a line, right? Because a missile's like on a line.
You had 400 feet just dead set on a bomb. What's your exit velo for a piss missile? If it's going to be a definition, we got to be clear, Ben.
That's true. You're right. But honestly, I like 400 feet. Like I'm still kind of iffy. Like for me, a bomb has to be like 420 or more.
Okay, bro. Like
410. I'll compromise and say 410. It had like a bomb's got to be, man. He got.
At what point can we say it went out of the stadium? The TrackMan's just estimating, anyways. It could have went 400 feet. Because I've seen some on the TrackMan that say like 380, and some that say 430, and the 380 one looked way further than the 430 one.
Well, to your point, I was watching the Yankees game on Sunday, and my guy Ben Rice hit a ball in the gap. They were they were in Tampa. They were playing at Tropicana Field, and he hit one off the very top of the fence in right center. I think StatCast or whatever system they were using, TrackMan, whatever, had it at like 399, and it didn't get out of the park in right center. And Tampa's, I don't know what their dimensions are, but right center is not 399 where it hit off the top of the fence. So that was a good 20 feet off there, TrackMan or whatever system was used, to your point.
Yeah, well, it had another, 8 feet down to the ground if it wouldn't have gotten stopped by the wall. But hey, that would have been second deck at Yankee Stadium. So, I mean.
No, I said right center, not right field. No, but a bomb, like it's measured in feet. It's got to be a lot of feet. Piss missiles measured in exit velo got to be like 105 or higher. And on a line, it's also about the trajectory. Piss missiles are on a line. It gets out in a hurry. It's like a 2-iron or a 3-iron.
What did Reese hit? Because it was higher. It was like a 3 wood. It wasn't a line drive.
It didn't get over 400 feet. If I remember correctly, I'd have to.
No, it didn't. It was like 375, I think.
Yeah, but I think the exit velo was like 105, which is why it's a piss missile on a line, high exit velocity, piss missile. There you go. All right, we got to talk pitching a little more in depth before we get out of here. We talked about it broadly earlier, but I want to highlight some guys a little more individually. First, I will add some house cleaning notes on some questions that we pondered early on in the podcast. Tegan Coons was ranked the number 45 overall player in the country, so a top 50 player at 45 on Perfect Game. And Anson Seibert, he's at Johnson County Community College, wherever that is. I think it's in Kansas. He's from Kansas. That's why I think he's at Kansas, in Kansas, playing JUCO ball. He's made, according to the website, 3 appearances, 4 innings pitched, 4 strikeouts, 2.25 ERA. So small sample size, but Anson's having an okay season in JUCO ball. He's coming off of an injury. Who knows? But since I mentioned Teagan's perfect game ranking, top 50 prospect coming out, did you notice anything different about Teagan on Saturday to allow him to take his game to the next level? That was by far not only his best outing of the season, but the best outing of his career. He was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, he located his fastball the entire outing. Pretty simple. I mean, he held his stuff, but when he got in trouble early in the year, that second or third time through the order, it's because he didn't have the fastball command. He had fastball command. He goes 6 innings.
What'd you see from Arvidsson?
Arvidsson was himself. He is very, very much. If he throws enough strikes, it is good. If he doesn't, it's not good. Very simple recipe for Brandon Arvidsson. I mean, seriously, I don't know how else to break him down. I mean, his breaking ball is top 1% in the college game of swing and miss, like not gonna be squared up, but it's like, can he throw it in the zone enough? And can he start it in the zone for long enough to get chase? And like, can he use the fastball to be competitive enough so that people aren't just sitting on the breaking ball the entire game? I mean, that's kind of it for Arvidsson too. Like, it's pretty simple as a pitcher. If you can locate your fastball and you've got an off speed that you can show for strikes and you're put away, like, that gives you a chance. Obviously, that's way easier said than done, but both of those guys did that, and so it's easy to see why they did well. It's like, yeah, they located their heater.
Yeah. With Mac, I thought Mac was good. It just got away from him. He was good over the first 4 innings, and then it just kind of got away from him in the 5th, which you need Mac to work deeper into games if you're going to reach your full potential as a team this season. But like that's a really talented Mississippi State lineup juiced up on a Friday night. Like yes, he needs to be better. It wasn't bad, wasn't great. It's kind of somewhere in the middle. Was good the first couple of innings and then fell off quickly. That's something he'll need to be better about. Interested to see how he bounces back against Ole Miss, I guess, this weekend.
Yeah, I thought he looked good. It was just kind of the circumstance of the game. Like, we had a lead, but it wasn't a huge lead. And Elander had committed to Appenzeller going in behind him. And you can get 4 or 5 out of Appenzeller. So it's like, I think let's say Mac was throwing game 2 and Appenzeller had already started, I think you probably let Mac try to work through that. Whereas I think it was more so Mississippi State threw a nice punch back, more so than Mac completely falling off. Now, obviously, would you like to be a little sharper in those moments where Mississippi State was able to throw that punch? Yeah, but like, it wasn't. He didn't fall off a cliff after those first few innings. It was just kind of the way the game played out. But I think I like what I've seen from him on his 2 Friday starts. He went way deeper last weekend, which is obviously better, but was still. I'll take 2 times through the order of getting you into the weekend and setting the tone. Like, the first few innings allowed Tennessee to get a lead. That was awesome. Now I'll go build on that next weekend, like you said, against Ole Miss. If he can get a little deeper, that'd be nice.
Something I've noticed that you talked about earlier in the year, start of SEC play, I have noticed less theatrics from Mr. Mac the last couple of outings.
Yeah, well, he's had a little humble.
Did you talk to him?
Too. No, I didn't. I think the ball's going over the fence. He thought, maybe I should wait till I'm done with my outing before. I don't want to look like this again. No, seriously. I just think I don't know if somebody talked to him or he just decided on his own. Like, I think part of the intentionally making decisions to try to get deeper into the game. Like that's one of the things that he can control is like try to be steady. The best starting pitchers that always seem to go deep into games, like your Clayton Kershaw's,
Garrett Cole,
Verlander, Garrett Cole, and now I'll say your boy Max Fried, Paul Skeens, Crochet, who didn't have a good night tonight. Flush that one, Crochet. Sorry, brother. Scooball, they're all just stoic. They honestly look boring when they're out there. But guess what? Boring when you're a starting pitcher is cool, man. Boring is cool. So if he gets the Liam Doyle like relief outing later in the year, I hope he loses his ever-loving mind. But if you're going to be FNG, Friday night guy, until like the 5th in a big moment, keep it right here, brother. Unless you're an absolute psychopath like Liam Doyle, then I guess he's kind of different. Like
much different.
Yeah. He's like the cocaine kid grew up.
Yeah.
That might be, people ask like what happened to that kid. Might be Liam Doyle. Hey, that kid was blonde, about the right timeline. I saw on social media somewhere a while back, people were like, what happened to that kid? He was funny. I think he pitched at Ole Miss in Tennessee and coached them. I think he signed for like $8 million to the Cardinals.
All right, Cam Appenzeller, what more can you say? That kid's an absolute stud. Just go ahead and give him all of next year's NIL money. Pretty crazy to, like we said last week, pretty crazy to think that he's going to be here for be in college for 3 seasons.
He gave up a run though. Scoreless streak.
2 runs.
Over. Yeah, 2 runs.
He's a bust.
2 runs, and we're still sitting here talking about what a good outing it was. That guy is electric.
What's crazy is like he gave up 2 runs, but given the environment and given where Tennessee's season was at going into Friday night, probably his most impressive performance of the season.
Yeah, I'll give him that. Maybe Georgia, you could argue.
Pretty dang good at Vanderbilt too.
If you're going road, if you want to factor that in, which you have to, but yeah, I the way he gave them up too is like they were solos. Who cares? You have a 2-run.
What Frank always say?
Throw strikes. No, Frank never said throw strikes. He just wouldn't pitch you if you didn't.
What do you say about solo home runs though?
They don't beat you.
That's right.
Enough of them do beat you, but yeah. Cost of doing business. That's what he would say. That's what Tony would say.
Cam was awesome. We talked about Bo Rudy earlier. The only guy
heaving it.
What's that?
Heaving it. Bo Rudy was heaving it.
Yeah, he was. That was a really good outing from him. The only other guy that we haven't really gone a little more in depth on is Blanco. It looked like he had a point to prove against his former skipper.
Yeah, well, that's the.
Who do you think has the advantage in that situation? When Evan talked about it after the game with Sean Barrows, Tennessee's SID, about how he's close with a lot of guys on that Mississippi State team that transferred from Virginia with Brian O'Connor to Mississippi State, and they know his approach to pitching. Who do you? But of course, Blanco also knows the hitters and what they like to do at the plate. Who do you? And O'Connor knows the pros and cons to Blanco. Who do you think has the advantage in that moment, the pitcher or the hitter?
I would always say hitter with more familiarity.
Yeah.
That's advantage hitter. So I know Blanco was successful, but does that make it even more impressive? Because I mean, look at Ford against Valencias.
I think it does.
Tagged him. So yeah, Blanco's went really deep a couple times, and like we said, 2.5-hour game on Sunday, on Masters Sunday. That guy is for the people.
Yeah, and he was ready to watch the Masters. All you pitchers, the only thing y'all like to do is pitch and golf.
Yep. Simple creatures, Ben.
I
Not
don't know if y'all
ashamed
are
of it.
simple,
Proud
but
of it, actually.
how was your round of golf over the weekend?
I don't think I played over the weekend.
You played Thursday. That's kind of the weekend.
Yeah. Wasn't great.
The Yankees and Angels are just absolutely throwing haymakers right now. The Yankees hit a 3. Nobody cares about this, but I'm going to tell y'all anyways. Trent Grisham, 3-run homer as we're starting the pod. You asked me, hey, who hit that home run? I said Trent Grisham gives the Yankees a 3-run lead. Then Mike Trout comes back an inning later, hits a 3-run homer to tie the game. Aaron Judge comes to the plate, hits a 2-run homer to give the Yankees the lead. Mike Trout comes back to the plate, hits a 2-run homer to give did it tie the game or give the Angels the lead? I don't know. Something like that happened. I've been recording a podcast in the meantime. And then the Angels were up 2 in the ninth, and Trent Grisham just hit a second home run, a 2-run shot to tie the game in the bottom of the ninth inning. So I thought I was going to have nightmares about Mike Trout tonight. I still might. The game's not over. But in the moment, I'm going to be Mr. Optimistic still, like this podcast has been. But Evan Blanco was really fun to watch, and to put a bow on the pitching side, it's going to take the starters doing what they have done for most of the season, and then if you get that Bo Rudy, that Appenzeller, that Arvidsson especially, it changes the outlook of this team, and I think they're going to be able to pick up some series victories over these last 5 weeks of SEC play. Can't believe it, but this weekend against Ole Miss marks the hump of SEC play. But I'd still like another guy or two to establish themselves in the bullpen. Yes, you can get by with 3 or 4 guys, but I'd like to have 5 or 6. I'm greedy. I want another arm or 2, please, and thank you. I know you and I kind of differ on that, but I'd like to see another. I'd like to see Braden Krenzel get back on track, and who joins Krenzel in the process of
Needs to be
ending their
Frederick.
season on a high note, or really stepping up for this team. But like we said about the offense in the sophomore class, like the offense is going to go as the sophomore class carries them. The pitching is going to go as the bullpen carries them, and if they can establish any sort of consistency.
Yeah, it needs to be Frederick for me. I mean,
Yeah, Frederick too. I'd throw him in there.
yeah. I mean, that's the thing about the bullpen. You touched on, maybe looking back at how it's constructed. It's like you brought in Rudy, Hindi, and Frederick, three different arms that you felt really good about. You also had I forget his name, but it was the guy who was coming from a D3, ended up signing. They thought maybe he would end up coming.
You had 2. You had him,
And
Matt
then
Barr,
a JUCO guy as well.
No, the UNC Asheville guy, Clay Edmondson. Matt Barr was the JUCO guy. Edmondson was, I don't know if you said D3.
I know everybody
Oh,
does.
there are 3 of them. There are 3 of them. Clay Edmondson from UNC Asheville, Matt Barr, the JUCO guy, and Mason Estrada from NIT, one of those.
Was the
MIT.
other bowling Estrada was the one I was thinking of. Was Wright's teammate who was also coming a pitcher?
Two-way guy, DJ Newman.
Yeah, Newman. That's right. So that plays a role. I think everybody deals with that, but that's a lot, right? Like
You also would have had to cut more guys, unfortunately.
Okay, we probably think we get 1 or 2 of those guys. But Frederick hasn't been as reliable as we thought he would be. So need him to trend the other direction. And then you're right, Krenzel. Ooh. I don't know. We'll see. They got to try to get him back in there.
They're working. I feel he's the guy though. Like of all the guys we're talking about, of who steps up and becomes a reliable arm to add to Rudy, Arvidsson, Appenzeller. He's the one with the most potential.
Yeah, I mean I'm not trying to be mean. He's better than Rudy, like stuff wise. I mean, he was higher on the totem pole than Rudy.
It almost feels like he has the yips right now. Josh Elander, Elander was asked about him after the Northern Kentucky game last Tuesday. He said They're working on some things with the delivery to get him back in the strike zone because objectively, when Krenz is Krenz, the stuff is gross. It's really, really good stuff. It's 98 miles per hour with a really good breaking ball, but there's been a little bit of Jekyll and Hyde right there. So it's our job as coaches to work him through that. And I'm confident our pitching staff and everybody to get him there.
If Jekyll and Hyde is code name for yips, all right. But look,
That's what he has to say.
ain't nothing a pitching coach or anybody can do for the yips. He needs to go full blown major league to get rid of those. Or Bull Durham, something. You
got to think outside.
You ain't breaking that one down scientifically, Ben. You got to try some. What do you call it? Off
voodoo?
the shelf. Yeah, I was just trying to think of a word that kind of throws all that stuff under an umbrella, not like aftermarket.
I think Krenzel needs to sacrifice something in the locker room, like our guy on Major League. What's our big slugger on Major League?
Yeah, Serrano.
Yeah,
Pedro Serrano, not Dave.
Dave. I think Krenzel should get Dave Serrano to help him sacrifice something in the locker room. You have Kyle Serrano, Dave Serrano, and you're sacrificing something. Krenzel would be fixed in a heartbeat.
Well, Parker's already there too, so we might as well let him.
I meant to say Parker, not Kyle. I apologize, Parker.
Well,
but bring Kyle on in too.
Kyle's coaching with Dave at Johnson, so
all right, bring both of them over. Heck, bring Lingenfelter over with them. And doesn't Parker have another brother too?
He can bring a Smokey Bear toy for Sevier County. Sacrifice that.
Is he over at Sevier County now?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he was over at Johnson with Dave still.
Nah, he's teaching and coaching at Sevier County. They played at the Smoky Stadium tonight, played against Maryville. I don't have the score in front of me, but unfortunately, I think Maryville won.
Is he the head coach?
He's not. He will be, though, eventually. I don't know. Casey Taylor's one of the best in the business, and he'll probably do it a while. But I think eventually Lingo will take over.
Well, good for Lingo. I still think that's how Tennessee can fix Brian Krenzel. They get the Serranos because of our guy Serrano on Major League. You get Dave in there. You get Parker's already there. You get Kyle back in there. He's familiar with the clubhouse. He was a Vol. They were all Vols. They're all Vols. And as Tony said, you're either a Vol or you're not. So you got 3 Vols coming in there. You got Braden Krenzel.
They are.
And then you sacrifice something. I don't know what you sacrifice, but you find something. And
Krenzel I think you got no time. You need a like pure strike throwing person to help you like at the very end of that deal. Kirby's already there. Kirby knows nothing but strikes, but if you got to make a call to Vol legend Xander Sechrist, you do it. Or you get Xander in there for the entire Vol stew of randomness.
And Xander would put on an absolute show.
What's crazy is what we're doing right now is literally the type of stuff you have to do to get rid of the yips. I've seen it in person. It's the most bizarre thing. I truly hope that Krenzel does not have the actual yips.
I don't think he does actual yips, but there's it's hard not to have something mental going on.
He's not far from it.
I believe Josh when he says they're working on delivery stuff with him.
Yeah, Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah, I mean it's a little bit of both. I would imagine. Yeah, but they need somebody else to step up, in my humble opinion. But hey, I didn't play college baseball at a high level like you.
What about Biotto?
I like his ceiling. He's somebody who could emerge here on the back end of the season. I'd like for him or Taylor Tracy. That I think they could potentially establish some more consistency, or Blaine Brown. What are your thoughts on, as my Yankees went on a walk-off wild pitch? I'll take it. Shout out to that pitcher for also spiking one in the dirt, a breaking ball in the dirt. What were your thoughts on my Blaine Brown theory as to why he is pitching for the first time in over a month on Tuesday against UNC Asheville?
could be a good theory. Maybe you have some insider information there. I don't know.
I don't no inside information. That's just me never playing college baseball, being
You're
an
saying
internet
he is
blogger.
pitching, or you're guessing that he will?
No, he's starting. Tennessee put that out in its game notes. He is starting the game. Now, of course, he'll only pitch 1 inning, maybe 2. But
That's fine.
Josh Elander said a couple of weeks ago, or within the last couple of weeks, that him and Blaine and Josh Reynolds have been working on some things off to the side with some command stuff. I don't think it's a coincidence. Again, no inside information. I never have any inside information. I'm just an internet blogger who never played college baseball, just pretending to know what I
never gets
know what I
told
talk about.
anything.
Nope, never gets
Nope.
told anything. Pretending to know what I'm talking about when I have
Yeah,
absolutely
you're absolutely
no clue
right.
what I'm
They would
talking about.
like to have him as an option for an opportunity to get a lefty out. Absolutely. Because the arm is electric, but the last time he pitched, he didn't throw any strikes. It wasn't not enough. It was none. it was very ugly, which hey, been there. I get it. But yeah, it's probably time to run him back out there and see what happens. I mean, but there's been other guys that have sprayed it around and they've gotten other upper opportunities. It's just harder to get him in there when you're so focused on him being in your lineup every day, which we kind of thought this may happen. But if he pitched well, it may have forced their hand to kind of put more emphasis on it. But he didn't pitch well, so it kind of made it easy. And he's played a good left field. Like we were kind of worried about his defense in the outfield. He's been fine. I mean, sometimes it looks a little.
He doesn't take the best routes to the baseball.
No, a little worrisome, but you know what? He's athletic as hell and he's long. He can make up for it. So
yes,
just catch the thing. He's better than Bargo out there. All due respect, Dalton Bargo. Not a high bar, but he's got a hose in the outfield. So maybe that hose from the outfield can find some strikes on the mound against Asheville. But that's it, Ben. I'm pooped out. I'm done.
I'm pooped out. We're about to wrap this up. Naturally, went longer as we always do, longer than we intended to. Maybe there's the old catching theory that comes into play here. We talk about how Levi Clark hits better when he's catching. Maybe Blaine Brown hits better when he's pitching. I mean, the guy is hitting 210 in SEC play. Maybe spending some time focusing on something else opens up the hitting. Instead of, hey, he's hitting 210, so he needs to spend more time hitting. Maybe he needs to spend more time on pitching to free him up at the plate and not swing at every breaking ball that the other pitcher throws.
It's a fair point, Ben. You can say whatever you want to say about the staff. You can't say that they ain't willing to try stuff.
No, they are not. They are not.
I try stuff. I don't mean drugs. Don't do drugs. Stay in school. I just mean trying different options to win baseball games, which they've done.
They have done. All right, we'll get out of here. You're pooped out. I'm pooped out. Tennessee back in action on Tuesday.
Hopefully they're not pooped out.
This is getting posted to where you all, if you are listening, are probably listening on Tuesday. So appreciate those of you who continue to hang with us and stick through these long podcasts. Hope the conversations can at least be entertaining and informative along the way. Tennessee plays Asheville on Tuesday night to kick off a 9-game homestand. Tennessee will be inside Lindsey Nelson Stadium for the next 2 weeks. As I mentioned, they play UNC Asheville on Tuesday night, and then they will face Ole Miss this weekend. They will face Lipscomb next Tuesday, and then they will welcome Alabama to town next weekend for a 3-game series that will be a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series, and then they will conclude their homestand with a game against West Georgia before they head to Kentucky. So for Tennessee, as we can get into later on in the week when we preview the Ole Miss series, it's all about establishing consistency right now. And Ole Miss, Alabama, Kentucky, all good quality teams, but these next 3 weekends, they need to be series wins and make up in the standings, your resume, tournament projections. These next 3 weekends, you need to make up for some of the frustrations you had early in SEC play.
One game at a time, Ben. One inning at a time. One pitch at a time. Ole Miss, 6:30 Friday night. That's all I'm worried about right now.
You're not worried about UNC Asheville?
No. No, I'm sorry. No disrespect to the Bulldogs.
What's funny is I had this thought earlier. What's funny is they haven't lost the midweek game this season in the midst of all the frustrations and inconsistencies. Now that they get back on track, this will be the week that they finally lose a midweek game. There's a midweek loss coming because it happens to everybody every season.
Not betting advice, but Ben has called it. Don't UNC Asheville money line tomorrow. Come for the sweet breakdown. Stay for the Yip sacrifice setup.
I stand by that idea. I think it's a really good idea.
It's a great idea.
And I think Blaine Brown needs to get involved. Henry Ford needs to get involved.
Now, Henry Ford needs to get to Smokey's Bar and Grill. Or not Bar and Grill. It's not a bar. Get to Smokey's Grill.
All right.
And put that weight back on.
Yes, he does. Yes,
oh,
he does.
Goodness.
Maybe going to the bar would help. It put on weight quick. Just look at me.
No, I feel like that'd make him lose weight. He'd be dehydrated. Speaking of, do you have your cold one like you were instructed to do?
My cold water, yes.
There you go. What was it last week? It was a DC, wasn't it? Little Diet Coke. Yeah, little Diet Coke.
It was a DP, a Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper. I thought it was a silver can.
It may or may not have been. It may or may not have been.
Could have been some Natty Light. Never know.
Natty Light. It could have been water. I will say I'm more of a liquor guy than a beer guy. So the odds are, of course, no betting advice on this podcast. But if you were to bet.
Well, you can give betting advice on yourself.
For those who would like to gamble on Ben McKee's drink of choice on Sunday, Monday night podcasts, the odds would be higher for liquor than it would be beer. More of a liquor guy, unfortunately. Betting advice. These are not. What's your line? That is not betting advice for anybody. All right, William. We'll be back later in the week. Appreciate you, my man.
Cheers to you, Ben.
Cheers to you, Heflin. I'm cheersing through the camera.
Dink.
For Will Heflin, I'm Ben McKee. This has been another edition of the Diamond Vols Podcast. Hopefully a good edition of the Diamond Vols Podcast on GoVols247.com.